I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir. I would like to ask that we add 6A, Josh Carpenter for our EDC. Under 11, I need to add as J, RDA Board, reappointment of Billy Brown, Greg Tony, and Connie Orr. And then number J, I just learned that we need to surplus our 1999 Kenworth and our 2003 Peterbilt.
What was that? I'm sorry.
As K, surplus 1999 Kenworth and 2003 Peterbilt. Those are the ones that we had to, they were total losses, so we had to scrap them out.
So we're surplusing.
We need to surplus them for parts, if that's okay. And if that's your choice, and we'll talk about that when we get there. And then number 14, instead of adjourning, we've been asked to continue this meeting to Tuesday, August the 27th at 5 o'clock. We have some items coming in under urgent care that need to be taken care of.
That it?
That's it.
Motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our workshop and regular meeting on July 16th, 2024?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Robert Moody.
Good evening. I came here to discuss three issues with you as a board. But first, I'd like to say that we've had a really good start to our school year with day two. And I want to thank you for that because y'all play a part in that too. The money you supply us for our annual budget and for helping us families with technology fees. So I do appreciate you for that. We've had a good smooth start, and I want to make sure I have a good smooth start with y'all with a good relationship. 25% of our school is new, including me. So I want to make sure I do everything that needs to be done right between us, and so we get off with the right foot and the sake of our kids. So thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for the budget, our annual budget that you give us each year. I know in the past, you gave us, a little bit extra, 7% for help with our rising costs, and so I do appreciate that. I do want to be a good steward of the school's money because it's very limited. We have no fund balance. And as you know, Astro money is leaving this year, but the problems we are facing are not. Mental health crisis is not going to go away, and we are making accommodations for that. We've not rehired 2 positions, and we've applied for several grants to help fill the gap there. We've got a 75-year-old elementary school. It's a continual need of patching up that we try to use our limited lottery funds for. Of course, there's unfunded mandates. Found out today that federal monies have decreased. That's not happened. I couldn't remember the last time that's happened. And our federal monies go specifically for students with a specific special needs. We know having a safe school is a primary goal for everybody in America today we're living in, but there's no federal or state budget to give us annually for this. And so we rely on grants, compete with other schools for grants or local money that's used to apply for us to keep our students safe. Then we found out the other day, and this is a more heartbreaking one, it's a blessing that our school has applied and made where every child gets to eat free. That's a blessing for working families, for all families, for kids. But I will tell you, it's not free. It's an underfunded mandate that they do not give us enough reimbursement money to pay for it. It's slowly increased over the years until last year due to inflation and rising costs and how they did the formula. We were in the hole of $180,000 that had to be taken out of our local money because the same people says give our child a free meal, and we do, glad to do so. Also says we got to have a zero balance every year. So we have a little bit extra impact aid last year that had covered that cost, but we're trying to work on something right now. I don't know if we stop the bleed, or we're trying to slow it down. So saying that, I know we're spending the money, and I know you are too. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. My first request, and before I turn it over to David Matheson, is I'd like to have a sit down sometime and discuss more about our sales tax revenue. According to Articles 40, 42, and 44, I know the school is supposed to receive part of that money, and I know, if I understand correctly, that money is what goes to pay for the middle school wing that was completed a couple of years ago, and it's going to go pay for the temporary bleachers we have and the future bleachers we're going to get. My request is to sit down sometime and discuss what we get, what goes towards that, and possibly after what is ever left over after paying those funds, that the school could receive those to go towards our budget. So that's my request number one. Request number 2 and 3, I'm going to turn the floor over to David Matheson, our assistant superintendent, and with other names. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have 2 severe needs in Grant County schools right now. First one, I'm going to give you a handout that I got. One of these emails came to me today. But we are in desperate need of new activity buses. And I know that 2 years ago, the Grant County Board of Commissioners helped us purchase a activity bus. The cost of that bus was $95,000. And when we got a quote for a bus for this year, the prices went up 50% on a bus. And so listed here on this email that I got this morning are the 5 buses that we have. And I want to just talk about those buses and why they're in the condition that they're in. The first one, which is 8102, has 161,720 miles, and it is beginning to rust. And it is 2006. They can't get parts for it, for the air conditioning things now. As it breaks down, we can't order the stuff for it. We can't get it. So we've literally been calling other counties and scavenging things off of buses they've retired to fix our buses. That's a lot of this plan. When we're sending kids to Greensboro, Charlotte, and Raleigh, and Atlanta, and across the Dragon, the Knoxville, and the Gatlinburg, places like that on field trips. And these buses are vital to not just our athletic programs, our band programs, but to the elementary school and to our children, to give them the opportunity to go out and see what is available outside of the county, give them the experiences they need, as part of their education. The next bus, 8103, is what we call the short bus. It has a massive oil leak right now. It is a 2000. The only group that really has used it over the last year is the golf team, because they don't have many kids. And the estimate on fixing that bus was about $10,000. And then 8104, it's the most used bus that we've had over the last 10 years. It's got 233,877 miles. And the head has been replaced once on it. And it's already, again, it's the point where we can't get parts when things go down, like air conditioner. And then 8114 and 8116, both of these buses are in pretty good shape. Generally, we need, what we're asking basically is this: we need 2 new activity buses. And an activity bus, the life of it is generally 10 to 15 years. Most counties, that's how long they really want before they retire it, and between 150 and 200,000 miles. Whereas a yellow bus has a life expectancy of about 20 years and 150,000 miles. And then the state forces you to retire that bus after 20 years. But the difference is, activity bus, the wiring requirement is much harder. They have different drivers every day. They're on long trips. They're going at higher rates of speed, things like that, because of the way they're set up. We worked with Carolina Thomas to get a couple quotes on activity buses. If you flip the page there, the first page, the original quote we got was for $147,923. That's for a 72 passenger bus. That's actually about $13,000 lower than the actual cost of that bus. And what happened is these buses were ordered by another county, and then they get paid. So they're sitting there, and we can actually have these buses in Grant County in 8 to 10 days. Whereas if we ordered a bus, like a 66 passenger, it would be September of 2025 before we could get one. But we told them back, they'd come down, I wrote the price in there beside that. So the final price would be $145,923. And then the next two pages, I just want you to take a look at that. These buses can be financed. The first page there, the third page, it shows what the 10-year financing plan will do. The one thing I would like you to take a look at there is under interest. If we finance those buses for 10 years at 4.92%, which is the rate that they give us through Carolina Pumps, their interest, we're paying $67,099.50 in interest over that 10-year period. That's terrible in my opinion. And then the next page is a 5-year plan, and you can see that would be 10 payments of $35,894.55 over 10 years, paid once a year. The next one is for 2 buses also for 5 years of financing. The installment payment is $64,522.34, and the total interest on that would be $30,765.70. Now, these prices, I mean, they're outrageous. I know they are, but it is something that we desperately need for the kids in Grant County. And there's not a child in our school system at some point during the year doesn't get on one of these activity buses. And if it's my granddaughter, I don't want her in the Greensboro with a chance at that bus. And there's always a chance it will break down. But when you're running buses that are as old as our buses are, you know, those chances go up. There's lots of times when we've got kids going different directions, and all these buses can be on the road the same day. So what I'm asking is that the commissioners consider helping the school with this issue and trying to purchase 2 new activity buses. The other thing I'd like to talk to you about is we are in desperate need of a new elementary school. I know this has been brought to y'all before. So our elementary school, it is a huge, huge safety concern. Just this afternoon, about 4 o'clock, the kids have gone home. We still have teachers. We had to go into lockdown because there was someone in Robbinsville walking the streets with a shotgun, and the dead children were trying to find him. And, you know, he walked on our campus from any direction because there's just no way to secure this campus right here. So the main issue we have is the safety. That's number one. We want to protect our kids. The next thing is the age of our elementary school. You know, part of our buildings were built in 1955. They have no blueprints for those buildings. So when something breaks, like a water line, they just have to start guessing. Well, they have to tear walls down to find those lines to replace them. And that is very expensive. I mean, to be honest with you, the elementary school is becoming a bottomless money pit for the school system. And a lot of the ESSER funds that we have went into that building and trying to keep it up. And it's just going to continue to get worse. It needs a new room right now, about 3/4 of the building does. Other problems with that school, obviously, it's one of the only elementary schools in the state where kids would have to walk 200 to 300 yards to go to the gym. You know, they have to walk and go outside, although it's a covered walkway, to go to the cafeteria or to the auditorium. It's just so spread out. It's so big. The halls are so big that it's just a major problem. And then there's transportation between the schools. And, you know, in Grant County schools right now, the number of high need students that we have continues to go up. The number of students who need one-on-one care is continuing to go up. And we need a building that's big enough for us to handle that. Right now, there is every closet and every space that they can possibly be in, just to be honest with you. It's been converted into areas where we can treat these kids and give them the educational opportunities that they need. In saying that, we can't build an elementary school until we have property. And I have been in contact with Barford and Kayor, who own the property below the baseball field on the high school campus. And they have given me a price on their property. And basically what they said is right now they would pay $40,000 an acre. And there's a building on it. We could use a metal building $20,000 for that building. It's about 7 years of property. I talked to Scott Badger from LX3D. He's looked at this property and he said that it would be an excellent site for the elementary school if we could get it. But it wouldn't just be that 7 acres. We would use part of the property that we purchased from the same family several years ago with the baseball field in. We would use part of that property for the elementary school also, and parking lot, things like that. And then playground areas could be the lower part of it. So we use this. We would have some investment in this also because we're going to use our property. We're currently in the process of applying for the need-based public school capital fund grant. It is $42 million to build a new elementary school with 0 match for Grant County. So if we get it, we can build an elementary school. But here's the thing: the odds of us getting that money go way up if we have the property to build that school. So we need to be moving and working to try to get that property so we can have a new elementary school here in Graham County. And in saying that, there's some real advantages to us having a new elementary school. Number one, it will put all Graham County schools on one campus, which is phenomenal, to be honest. It takes away a whole lot of issues with buses. I mean, we have kids right now, if they get on the bus at the elementary school at 5 or 10 after 3, and they sit on that bus until 3:55 when it leaves the high school, and then they have to stay up maybe an hour or half a half to get home. So that's going to shorten that amount of time by 20 minutes probably at least. School safety would be improved immediately by moving the elementary school over there near the high school campus. It would create an easier transition for our elementary school students going to the middle school because they would be used to that campus. They could actually work. The elementary and middle school teachers could have a closer working relationship, make it easier for those kids coming in. It would give the elementary school greater access to the high school campus and some of the amenities that we have there, like the track facility and the track area that they now have to bus over to use, and they do that throughout the year at different times. And here's the thing: it's a win-win for Grant County schools and for the Grant County Board of Commissioners, Grant County government, because if we could get that property and get the funding to build this new elementary school, that would open up this property that we currently are on for the Grant County Board of Commissioners to use for maybe to build that new justice center, and it'd be on Main Street rather than out isolated somewhere. It could be the beginning of renovating Robbinsville and renovating Main Street and make a huge difference in our town and in our county. So it could lead to some revitalization. And I just feel like this is something I would really like to see the commissioners move on. Again, these Bart and Kay, I've talked with Bart multiple times, and they are willing to negotiate from this price, I think, a little bit, and they're willing to sell. And I think it could be a fantastic move for us to get this property and have the opportunity made to build a new elementary. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions for you guys. The grant,
Yes.
it's about 42 million. Is that the maximum?
That is the maximum that we can get, and that is what we are applying for. That's the maximum across the state for an elementary school is $42 million.
How often have you talked to Scott about that being enough money?
So I do know that Mitchell County just built a new middle school for $47 million. I feel like that we could build an elementary school for $42 million.
Okay.
Now, our plan would be to build a 2-story structure, and by building 2 stories, you're going to save some money right there. Plus, the footprint isn't as it's not as big. So I think 42 million would be adequate. Well, one thing is obviously a lot of that property over there, part of it is in the floodplain, but it can be filled. I've talked with Brian Stevens about that, and he said, it can be filled. And then part of the property is in the setback area that you can't touch. But, as long as we're not changing the grade there, I think we would be able to use that for, playground, walking trails, and whatever. So,
The 2 older buses,
yes.
if they were replaced, I'm assuming you'd surplus them?
we would surplus those buses, yes.
So you can get anything out of it?
No, I mean, it'd be a few thousand maybe.
Right. Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
Where are we in the process of applying for the grant?
So the grant is due September the 13th. We can, if we knew that we were gonna, pursue, this land, I mean, we can write that in there too. We can let them know that we are the land, we're pursuing it. We have a price on it, and we can put that in there.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I appreciate what y'all do for Grand County Schools, and I know it seems like we're down from our handout, but, times are tough. They really are, and, you know, we need help, but, our kids are our future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh Carter.
Good evening, board. How are we?
Good.
Great.
Good. So previously, last month, we talked about small business grant program. So tonight, we can give you an update on that and also review some of the grant applications that we received and kind of had to look at that to approve those for funding. So if you want, I think you should have in your packets. The sheet looks like it's got a lot of stuff. If you don't, I can give you one. Yeah, we'll
It's in the back of it.
I would do jokes and song and dance while you're, I'm not very funny for your dancing and stuff. I apologize.
I've seen that before in Will Pass.
Thank you very much. I know, tough crowd. Well, so like I said, we had, small business grant programs, policy approved back in December. We took applications over the last, several months. EDC has looked at these and approved essentially 4 of the 7 that applied. And you can see there, sort of how they score, and also numbers of jobs, amount retained and created, and also investments made. So real quickly, if you look at those numbers in total, $107,000 in investment by those 4 businesses, 18 jobs retained, and then 13 jobs created, and also several good points being made by the fact that they are typically hospitality tourism businesses, but also equate to some tax, sales tax revenue and other things that will be beneficial to the economy. So in short, really would like for you all to look at these real quick and then also approve them as they stand. Okay, wait, do that.
The amount of the approved expenditure
Yes, sir.
was $6,500
Yes,
total, with an investment creation of the 107,000.
That's right.
So
Uh,
give you a good comparison number there.
Yeah, so we're asking in total 6,500 and investments 107. Yeah. I did talk to Mr. Coward quickly right before the meeting started. We'll probably, next step, once they're approved or moving forward, we would want, those businesses to sign a simple contract that basically says, hey, you're gonna, need to, do this job creation piece, investment piece, and others. And then if you were not to do that, over the course of time, if you were not able to do that, that grant may return to a small one.
Mhm.
That's the way it would be written.
What specific consideration are you talking about on the last 2?
What's that, Jacob? I'm sorry.
What specific consideration are you talking about on the last 2
So in a
applications?
few of these, the investment number was slightly lower than what I thought it might be. So maybe the wage component for investment might be low. So we have to consider raising their wages or doing other things that might be more meaningful. And in turn increase the economic impact.
Is that something the EDC board is gonna have discussion with them about?
Yeah, yes, sir. We've got that lined up.
Talking about job retention as well as expansion.
Is there any questions about approving these applications? All right, I'll take a motion to approve these applications as presented.
I make the motion to approve $6,500 to the applicants that the EDC board has approved for the stated reason of either creating jobs or sustaining jobs that have already been created.
Is there a second?
Third.
All in favor? Thank you, John. Is there anything else?
No, sir. Just this, and we can talk about other things as they come up.
All right. Thank you, John. Bethany Leonard. Opioid settlement.
I'm going to tell someone I was thinking on behalf of the Graham County Opioid Settlement Strategic Planning Work Group. With input from the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Opioid Settlement team, the opioid settlement strategic planning work group has met twice to review the progress in the strategic areas that were originally funded. And we did this in order to develop these recommendations for allocating unspent county fiscal year 23-24 funds and pending county fiscal year 24-25 funds to activities that have been successful in strategic areas that need continued funding. So basically, what we're doing is we're proposing a new city authorization resolution. The previous one that was passed in March 2024, we're proposing that this new city authorization resolution replace that one. All the activities in this resolution still fall under the original strategies that were selected and approved. Just some funds were moved around. So I want to point out some of the changes that we made. In the original city authorization resolution, we proposed that $35,000 would be spent on hikes to cover the cost of 2 school-based half-time FTE support counselors. And so we want to change that amount from $35,000 to $50,000. And the second activity that was authorized is funded mileage reimbursement for social work interns that support school-based mental health and substance use disorder response efforts. We had originally allocated $2,000 for that, and we want to reduce that to $1,000. The third authorized activity that we had originally passed in that March resolution was for the post-overdose response team, and that's the existing community linkage care and post-overdose response team at the Graham County Health Department, and we have proposed $120,000 for that, and we would like to change or propose for this spending authorization resolution that amount be $143,000 or $143,552.34. The fourth strategy we had proposed in the March spending authorization resolution was for a clinical counselor to expand their scope to regularly offer evidence-based substance use that amount be changed to $25,000. And we are adding, a sixth authorized, activity. And what we want to do with that is we want to allocate $34,000 to support the Child Recovery Community Center, which is a new program based at 5 Point Center that supports people who use drugs or with a history of opioid use, and people seeking treatment and recovery to healthcare, social services, harm reduction, and treatment. And that will help support a .5 FT peer support specialist and program expenses. So that would bring the total amount for this new spending authorization resolution today to be $257,552.34.
Are there any questions about this resolution?
I may be a little off subject here, but since David and Mr. Moody are still here, I know that we were looking at a grant to fund one of our special needs, mental health needs employees at the school. Can you all give us an update on that grant?
So, we did get, funded partially for the Grace Focus grant we applied for. We got about $90,000, over the next 3 years, I think it is. And, so that covers the one employee.
Right.
And the other two that we had put into that grant were, employees through Heights that we contract into the school. And, it's the same two that she talked on out there. So we did not get funding for them at all. The only funding we got was for Southern Franklin.
Okay, that's the one that I knew about. So you work with that person as well, do you, Bethany? Okay. Anyway, that you support that with funding from what you do.
Funding, you mean?
Uh-huh.
So, funding would be the provider for that group opioid, use disorder, classes. And so we would support her in continue those classes, and those, classes are for people, basically anyone that would want to start using drugs, but especially for, DSS referrals, for parents and children in DSS custody or for DSS. And so we would, use some of this money to pay funding for providing those classes.
Thank you. And thank you, David.
What were some of the reasons for the increases and decreases?
So for the increase, in the Heights employees, the reason for that is because, the increased funding would help ensure that they continue to be available to support students because they're not getting funded by the school, like you just said. So we wanted to give more money to ensure that they would still be able to stay at the school.
What strategy is that?
So, that is the first strategy, which was early intervention.
Okay, yeah. And it was 35 and it went to 50.
Yes.
Got it.
And, on the second strategy, early intervention is the mileage reimbursement for the, social work interns. The reason why that went down from 2,000 to 1,000 is because, Sunny is part of our, strategic planning work group, and she said that last year we weren't able to get a social work intern. So she feels like if we were to get one, this time period, that it might only be one, and so we could take some of that money and put it somewhere else. So that's the reason for that one. On the third authorized strategy, which was the post-over response team, it was 120,000, and now we're proposing that it goes up to $143,552.35. Is because two other grants ended or ending in mid-2024, and only one started in 24-25, but does not fully cover costs. And sources of free naloxone are ending, so continued settlement funds, would be needed to continue those programs as they are right now. And that is our post-over response there at the health department that, Brady Buchanan and I do.
Okay.
So right now, we haven't lost the help that we had with Sunny. And thank you all who have worked on that so much. And which one of the Dogwood groups was that we worked with on that? Who was the grant, applied?
Resolution.
Yes, okay, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you, and thank you.
And so the fourth alternative, which is recovery support services, which was for Sunny to do those sort of classes for our parents. We originally, in March, passed $10,000 for that. And, the reason why that was reduced to $4,000 was at Sunny's, suggestion. Um, so far, no one has taken those classes, no one's taken advantage of those classes, so she felt like we could increase that amount from 10,000 to 4,000, and still, if, she does get participants for the classes, and that 4,000 still meet her need, that she would need to be able to do a 12-week class.
Can we help in marketing these classes any? Get the word out?
So we have, discussed them with, DSS, because primarily in the beginning of the strategic planning process, Amy C, of course, was part of that process. But that is what the need came up, is we need something for DSS parents to do, to something that they can put on their case plan and say, hey, they need substance use disorder classes, and, here's these classes. I think with Amy leaving and Melissa Anderson taking over for Amy, that maybe some people weren't aware that the classes were available. But Maria and I have talked to them, and we explained to them that the classes are available. We want to suggest to Sunny that we maybe go talk to the probation officers and let them know, I don't know the legalities of what they can have people do, but there's another option available for folks that are on probation too. We haven't had anybody just want to take the classes themselves. But really, they were suggested in the beginning with the DSS involved parents in mind.
Okay.
The fifth authorized strategy was supporting Western North Carolina AIDS project, and the amount originally in March was 20,000, and we're proposing 25,000. And the reason why is because with increased funding, we may be able to add an additional day of services in the county. They're already seeing up to 30 people in a day, which they only stay 2 hours at a time. And so if we're going to be serving 30 people in 2 hours, a little bit of extra money can help them to be able to come an additional day. So that's why we increased that one, or why we're proposing that one be increased. And so the new activity, which is supporting the Shelby Recovery Community Center, the reason why we wanted to devote that 34,000 to them is because we had originally, in the strategic planning process, we had wanted to do some sort of anti-stigma campaign, and just through working with North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, we could not get that process to go through, despite meeting with them multiple times and changing paperwork and stuff like that to meet the requirements. And so we hope that if we devote that money to Showa, then it could help them with their program expenses, supporting the same people that we do. But then also allow them to do an anti-stigma campaign through their programs. And also we want to support them because we have clients that don't want to go to the health department because the health department's by DSS, or the health department, they know people that work there or whatever, so we can go to Showa, which we do. On Mondays we go and we're there with Allison Parker, who runs the Recovery Community Center, but we can meet people there that may not want to be the health department or DSS. They feel more comfortable because Stock Point Center is like a hub for the community, and they're already going there to get food, or they're already going there for other resources. So it just kind of makes sense to support the Recovery Community Center.
Well, thank you. Any other questions?
And this strategy is fully funded. We do have these money set aside that are dedicated just to this. So we actually have an excess of this, and they'll be working on more strategies as they go along.
And in order to satisfy our annual meeting requirement for the, personnel and associates and county commissioners, then we do have to open up the public comment on this, everybody's been on rotation. So does anybody have any comments?
Do we need to do it like that, or do we need to close this meeting? Open up?
No, it's been opening.
Is there any public comment?
Okay.
The fuel recovery center, we have been having the harm reduction through WindCap there for several years now. And if you look at the two counties in western North Carolina, Jackson County and Grant County, which are the two areas where they have been able to set up and provide their services most frequently, you will see in those two counties in western North Carolina that HIV is going down.
Mm-hmm.
It works. It's not a popular subject. People don't like to talk about it. They think about it differently, but it works. It doesn't just provide needles for people that use drugs. It keeps your children and your grandchildren and your wives and your spouses and your friends safe. So I think that, when you think about that, we appreciate having this support. We appreciate being able to have a place where people feel comfortable being able to come to and see their needs met. So we just appreciate your consideration in that pass.
Anybody else? All right. Any more questions?
Thank you, Bethany.
Is there a motion to approve this resolution for these opioid settlement fund expenditures?
I'll make the first second.
All in favor? John Caldwell. John's not here? Don Reynolds.
Excuse me. Good evening.
Question your help. I think it's not a package, probably one of the more important pieces of the package is the 8-page inspection report through the North Carolina Department of Animal Welfare Services. When we get inspected, there are some issues there. Fix some of them in the Spence project. But all the animals there have to have an outside run. It requires it to be taken out. Sit inside. I will tell you that for 2023, we're looking at 1,925 animals. Three count charity grant in play. You folks account for about 16% of those. We don't kill them. The state law requires that we keep the animals for a minimum of 72 hours. The Animal Welfare Act, the federal government is 5 days. So we do euthanize animals if they are injured, can't be helped. There are some that can't be adopted out. I will tell you, we partner with an organization up in Asheville, and usually twice a month we ship 30 animals or so up to Asheville to go to the northeast shelters up there and into Canada. Our shelter is one of the few that can do the paperwork correctly to get animals into Canada, because they're very, very specific about that. This person we work with in Asheville take the animals on up to the last boat, went to New York, Pennsylvania, and into Canada. We ship animals into the Midwest even. The shelter for adopt. We try to adopt out as many as we can, but I'll tell you that if we take use the van to hold 30, 35 animals, and within a week or so, we'll forward it. We're certified for 125 animals, we normally have $150. Certified for 120 cats. That, I'm gonna state pretty constant, the dollars are the problem. We know that there's no county that's going to institute a leash law, but you can't control it. So, we, no leash law, animals not being neutered, and we end up with lots of puppies. We're full with puppies right now, we're gonna take some at the end of the month, back up to Asheville. They all show up with parvovirus, they're all sick. Again, the state requires every animal that comes into the shelter get a rabies shot, but we have no idea that they got one or not. Most of them have no tags, no collar. So this fence project is, again, about, 3 posts, that figures that have over $9,000, for the 16%. And Cherokee County has a 73% for that, the animal take for them. So, this is gonna be, done next month, by the middle of the month, and the state, ag inspector will be back to make sure that's done. We have another project around another building, and we bought a puppy bill for all of the puppies go. Luckily, we had a donors stand up and pay for that project, so that was now all the books. So we just asked for some help with this project. Ready to do. If I can answer your questions.
Is there any questions from Mr. Williams? Thank you, sir. We'll be in
Thank you very
touch.
much.
Stacy Carter.
Have quite a large packet in front of me. And the finance report is for the report, it's for the period ending 7/31/2024. And this is the first month of the new fiscal year. And this brief overview, we have our unrestricted fund account balances, which total $5,104,411.99. Got your equivalents of the same time last year over to the right of that and the variance. As far as these unrestricted funds are concerned, though, we do have some appropriate fund balances, so I thought that was important to note as well, that some of these funds are kind of restricted, just not in its own bank account. So I did make an additional column than what we had last month, just to show those appropriated fund balances. So those appropriated fund balances equal $590,000, $971.34. And that just would be deducted from unrestricted funds account balance of us. And that's just to keep us in the clear, to make sure that we have those monies set aside for things that they're set aside for and restricted. And then as far as the actual accounts that are restricted, we have all of those restricted funds listed out there with the balances and the total balance. The total balance for the total restricted funds is $12,566,631.04. And then as far as our income revenues that came in for July, and for the month of July was $1,547,865.27. Of course, our year to date is the same because it's the first month of the fiscal year. And then I've just got the prior end of the year report over there for what was our final, and we are still closing the books, but that is pretty close as far as what the revenues were for fiscal year 23-24. Then the next column is the expenditures, and for the month of July, the expenditures were $1,471,600.59. Again, our year to date is the same, and I've got prior end of the year numbers over there to the far right, and that is, and as far as our results are concerned, at this point, that is our final for the fiscal year 23-24. And then as far as our tax collections are concerned, our current year collections for this month, for the month of July, was $862,291.42. And then prior year collections was $26,844.20. And I just made another additional row down there. Our collection rate, since we did just issue the new tax cards, her collection rate at this point is 9.7%. So that's what she's already collected on the tax cards that were just issued. But our end of year last year, we ended up collecting 97.19%. And we'll see that our year today will continue to grow as she continues to collect. As far as DMV and vehicle tax collections are concerned, the collections for the month of July were $68,833.03. And then just our prior end of year is over there to the far right, just for reference. Then as far as our sales tax collections are concerned, I know Mr. Moody had touched on this, and I did want to grab him before he left, but I will touch base with him. And the sales tax that we do bring back in, that is issued to us every month by the state, it does have specific areas that it has to be divvied out. And so I do have all of the information that Mr. Moody has requested already available. I've been doing that as a project because I knew this was coming. And so I do have all that information to him, for him. So we do have a set aside for the schools, and the portion of that right now, we have resolutions in place that there are reimbursement resolutions in place. And as he did say, it was for the middle school and loan payments, and then also for the football stadium. And so there was not a big surplus at the end of 23-24. And so we rolled it into 24-25, and it's already been expended at this point. But I will set up a meeting with him and can go through that with him. But as far as the sales tax collections for the month of July, we did have $310,385.78. That does bring our year-to-date total to $567,702.49. That doesn't seem right. I think that number might be incorrect, so please just scratch that, and I'll fix that next month, because that can't be possible. And I apologize for that error. But then I have the prior end of year numbers are over down the far right column as well. And then part of our tax collections, we are excluding that 4% sales tax. We are setting that aside and putting that basically public safety towards the Justice Center. And so the portion of the sales tax that was set aside for that this month was $28,370.49. And since we put that program into place since inception, we've actually collected $1,389,075.61 that goes towards the courthouse. So that is the report in itself. I did put in your packet, we had talked about this last meeting, that it's an expenditure statement by department. And it does show you what our ideal percentage of expenditures to date should be. And at the very top, it's got a little column highlighted in yellow. So our ideal percentage would be that we have only expended 8.33% of our budget. And so there are several that are highlighted in red that have exceeded that. And that is just for your information. If you would like me to give you more information as far as why they have exceeded their budgets or their expected budgets today, I can dig into that and give you some more information. But I just wanted to have this for you so that you can see where we're trending on a monthly basis. We attempt to be a little bit more proactive with that. Just a few updates. Fiscal year 22-23 and 23-24 audit work are in progress. And I just met last week again with our representative from NCACC, our CPA, and also LGC. They were all just at a meeting in Raleigh, and they were able to meet with the auditors. And the auditors have advised them that they will not be able to look at our financials until the December-January timeframe. So regardless of when we do get the work completed, they will not be able to look at them until December or January.
I think that's because of their backlog.
And that is because of their backlog. So just want to bring that to your attention. And so what our goal is, what we set our goal is to have both audits ready to go simultaneously. So that when he does get to where he can review our books, that he'll have 22-23 and 23-24 ready to look at the same time. So that being said, we've been learning through the 22-23 process, and we've been trying to adjust our processes internally so that we can make sure that we're staying in and trying to work more proactively instead of retroactively. But we're also going ahead and working on 23-24 stuff as it's identified. So our CPA that we have contracted with, Beverly Stroud, her and I have weekly meetings.
And she has been very educational and as far as trying to help us learn and trying to work the process. And we are due to the new deadline that we're trying to occur, we are going to ramp up. So we're going to ramp up and she's going to get more involved and we're going to really turn the speed up. So just to let you know about that. And then we also heard from LGC. They are going to, they wanted to set up our UPL visit, and that is due to us not meeting the state mandated deadline for the audit. So on August, I believe it's the 29th, Becky Garland, who is our LGC liaison, she will be here in addition with her boss, and she'll meet with the county manager and the board chair. I know you're excited about that. And we'll meet with them and go over her UAL visit and basically provide her with an update on all things that we've been discussing with the CBA, how things CACC. But we do have a good support team there. They are working with us weekly, so we'll just keep moving forward. And then as far as grant updates are concerned, we are closing out on the CDBG NR grant and also the CDBG grant. So we've turned in final requisitions for those, trying to capture as much cost as possible. Those final requisitions have been submitted. We did meet our deadline with that. We're waiting on those final reimbursements from Commerce. We did have some DOG grants. We've been working on all those reports and requisitions, getting those turned in. And then ARPA has been another big thing on our radar that we've been working on. So in your packet, you have several things that relate to ARPA. And one is a copy of the project ordinance. We did previously have a project ordinance in place. The first version of the project ordinance was very vague in nature and just talked about how that we would use those funds for road replacement. As the guidelines changed and they have moved forward in the process, they told us that it can't be so vague, it has to be much more specific. And so in today's copy of the project ordinance that's being presented to you, we have to identify what expenditure category we're using and actually identify the projects and put dollar values with them. So in this project ordinance, we've got all of our expenditures will go under revenue replacement. And so project number 1 was premium pay that occurred, I believe, I don't have the date for that. Off the top of my head, I apologize. That has already occurred, but that was for the $737,455.49. That was during the COVID era when we were giving that to our first responders and our people that were involved in public safety. And project number 2 was our parks and recreation renovations that were occurring. That was putting in lights down at the fields on the P&J property. And so that was $100,123. Project number 3 was urgent care. And this is just expenses that have been occurred in maintaining and pushing that project forward. And so $584,034.82 for that project. And project number 4, this one has still not been expended. It's still kind of just sitting there, but for the great grant, there is $15,000 sitting there for that. And then project number 5, what we were trying to do at this point is pick the low-hanging fruit. So if we can go ahead and get the rest of that money from ARPA identified, and we can bring that back in as revenue replacement. And so what our goal will be is to use that for salary reimbursements, and our plan is to use that for the sheriff's department, and we'll go in and be able to recoup those funds for the salary reimbursements for project number 5. So that brings us to the total of $1,646,226.42, which is the monies that we received for ARPA funding plus the interest. We did have to include the earned interest. That was a new requirement. So all of those monies will be expended and we'll be able to recoup those into our general fund. So we need to make a motion to approve this project ordinance tonight so that this will replace the previous versions of the project ordinance, and then that'll get us in compliance for our regulations.
Is there a motion to approve this project ordinance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I'll be sending copies of those around. And then in addition to that, it still relates to ARPA.
You'll have another packet, should have a binder clip on it, and it starts with memorandum on the top of it. There were 5 policies that had to be put in place to go along with the ARPA funding.
Is this something we need to put on tonight?
Yes.
Wait till next Tuesday?
If we're gonna do, I'm not gonna go through every policy, I'm just gonna
Okay.
brief overview. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 5 policies. There's a records retention, an eligible cost, an allowable cost, a civil rights compliance, and a conflict of interest are the 5 different policies that have to be in place for ARPA and funding. And we could not find in our meeting minutes anywhere that it had already taken place. And so I just had we put together one resolution that would grab all 5 of the policies. And so it just talks again about what the funding was for, what, what our projects were identified, and that these five policies go in place to support that. So we just need to have it in the meeting minutes that these were presented to the board and that they were voted on and accepted, and then I have documents for you to sign. So can we get a motion to approve
Do
these
you
5
want to do
policies?
them one at a time or all at the end?
I can name them out and then we can make a motion.
We'll just do them one at a time.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to approve the required policies for the ARPA state and local fiscal recovery fund compliance? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
So the 5 that are included in that's the records retention, the eligible costs, the allowable costs, the civil rights compliance, and the conflict of interest.
Okay.
That should cover all 5 of them. Okay. And then we have amendment number 1. This is for charge to for fiscal year 24-25. And this is, you have a copy of that in your packet as well. And the first line item is money for Medicaid transformation for the health department. This was money that was not previously identified in our budget, so we do have it's on both the revenue and expenditure side. There was also money that came in for CDC COVID vaccinations and a CDC bridge access, again not previously budgeted, so those are added. Then Sheriff's Office Trust, we needed to add some additional revenue that was identified after the budget. So we are adjusting that. We are adding revenue to the urgent care, and we will be able to bill Advent Health for $3,000 a month. So that would increase our revenues this year for the $30,000. And then again, that will put that down into the expenditures line items that will help cover some of the maintenance costs. There was also another grant that came in actually for Bethany's work for the health department peer support. That was $16,000. We needed to recognize that revenue and expenditures line item. We did have some donations from the rec department in the amount of $283 that needed to be recognized. And then we also had to capture some additional revenue for EMS for their capital outlay. This was for the ambulances. We had previously accounted for that, but we did not account for the tags and titles. And so therefore we did need to get an additional $17,477 for that. So we will have to pull that from fund balance out of our account at First Citizens Bank to pull into that to increase the revenue and the expenditures for that. And then also we had to get a new medical officer for EMS, and so the adjusted contract for the new medical officer was going to increase by $2,500. So we would have to pull that in as well. And then the last thing was we had some reimbursements for uniforms that came in, and we had to recognize that revenue, and also, and this is for the recreation department, I apologize. So we had to recognize that revenue and expenditures line. So the amendment number 1 total would be $178,624.
Is there a motion to approve amendment number 1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
There's 2 more quick items. Just letting you know that we have had some attempts of fraudulent activity on our general account. We do utilize positive pay, and therefore we've been able to catch the fraudulent activity. It's basically a situation where someone has captured our checking information and they're duplicating checks. So we've had several attempts. It went through about a 2-week period where it was
was occurring. It has slowed down this week. We actually have not seen one attempt. But the positive pay has done its job. And what positive pay does is basically every check that we write out of here, it goes into like a holding tank. And basically, and then the next morning, if those are presented to the bank for payment, the next morning we come in and we actually individually have to look at the checks and approve them for payment. And so that has actually caused the fraudulent activity today. The bank is aware, and then their treasury department is also aware. So I just wanted you to be aware that that has occurred. And then my final thing, I'm working with the Graham County Sheriff's Office for their drug buying policy. And we had originally put one in place to start into effect on 7/1. The sheriff did want to meet and adjust that. And so we did adjust that policy. You do have a copy of that in your packet. And then in addition to that, due to the fact of the policy changing and due to the statute, we're only allowed to have $500 on hand. Otherwise, we make nightly deposits, and you cannot keep more than $500 on hand unless you have a resolution in place that increases that amount. So in order to satisfy the constraints of the drug buy policy, we would have to increase his money on hand from $500 to $10,000. And so I have a resolution tonight to bring for the board and for that approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for good.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
And that's it.
All right.
We could add them all in next.
Left them in, Nick. You might start copy and pasting that.
Yeah.
Is there any public comment?
Well, Creek Road. That's my permanent residence, and I have a small business there. And it seems like most of the topics today dealt with budgets. And so why should mine be any different? First of all, I would like to thank y'all for your willingness to serve. And especially thank Mrs. Kim Chris. She's always answered her phone when she's been in for me or when I walk in and give me information or whatever thing I needed. So I think, I'm not sure how many years she has with y'all, but she is a great employee. And I appreciate that. As members of the county commissioners, and I believe all 5 of y'all are on the, I can't say that word, so I'm going to use the property review board. I was wondering, and Mr. Cody, every time I've called you, you've answered, and we've had a conversation. Mrs. Orr, we talked on the phone. And Tasha, one time, we talked on the phone. But I would hope that all of us would think it would be important if one of your Graham County residents called you, you would call them back. And I've done the same thing, sometimes I forgot to call people back, and that's understandable. But I'm having a hard time with the review board. I think there's a double standard because I had a case dismissed. I drove all the way to Raleigh to find out that I was 1 day shy of the time limit. So we had a meeting on April 21st here with the board. Mrs. Colbert, I hope I'm saying her name right. said within 30 days, you'll get a written notice on what we think about it. Well, 30 days passed and I called, well, yeah, they're still working on it. So I got the mistake I made when I went to Raleigh. I didn't keep the envelope. Well, I kept the envelope this time. So we had a meeting April 21st. And I got a reply on June 4th. And after that, I called a number of people on the board and talked to Mr. Cody. And is it any of y'all's understanding that during that meeting, that if I had changed, which I didn't change, I've always had 3 parcels of land, A, B, and C. A number of years back, I made a 4th parcel. I splintered out a piece of land to go from a commercial loan to a residential loan. So I actually have 4 parcels of land over there. And that is in my recorded deed. Chris Selly says, on our first meeting, says, no, you have 1 parcel and it's all commercial. And your tax evaluation is 120% higher than it has ever been in the past. So that created the first appeal. And then that's when I went to Raleigh to find out that, well, you're a day late. But then when the county gets 30 days, they actually get extra days, which didn't make much sense to me. And then to come and find out that when you have a meeting, it's presented that my taxes, if I changed from commercial to residential, my taxes would go down. But even after the review, my taxes went up again from 538 to like 568 evaluation. So I just don't, and I'm going to go to Raleigh when they tell me that they're going to let me know 50 days prior to when I got to be there. But was it on any of y'all's understanding that my taxes, and if you don't want to tell me in a public forum, that's great. And we can do it over the phone or we can do it in person. But it's hard. It's hard when you have somebody saying your business is making 40% profit. I've been operating this small with the last last trout farm, fishing pond in the county. There were 7 when I moved here. I'm the last one that people can come bring their kids and I can watch them catch their first fish. I've had 2-year-olds all the way up to 92-year-olds out there. And it's not all about the money, because if it was all about the money, and I made as much money as Chris thinks I make, I'd be living in a mansion somewhere. But I need to know if it was presented to this board, because all 5 of y'all, I believe, are on that board, that my taxes would go down. In fact, they went up. And the other thing, I had a number of years back, supposedly alcohol revenue taxes were supposed to solve all these problems. Right? We're going to make so much money off alcohol revenue. But I tell you one way that will work, and I presented this before, an impact fee. I'm all for a person owning a home, especially our kids and our grandkids. Right now, my son wants to come back. He can't afford it. But all these houses that are 2nd and 3rd homes, impact fees. I witnessed it. It's not going to stop them from coming. They're still going to come. If you got $1 million to put on a house, if we put an impact fee of $10,000, that's nothing to them. That's like, nothing. And that's what's driving these real estate prices up, is these second and third homes. And I just think that we need to research the impact fee instead of putting the burden on residents that are trying to make a little living here. And just, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. I would hope that if I reach out to you the next day or two, that you could have a conversation and let me know how that meeting went down. And then maybe you can't legally, I don't know if you can legally or not.
Oh, we'll just 4 minutes. That's all we need to do. I'm curious myself now, because I remember.
I recall us discussing a portion or a building that was initially written up as attached as part of your house when I came there, Mr. Detto, and the board helped me remember. And I may have to go back to the notes on that, Mr. Detto, but it was my understanding that there was a downward adjustment for that one finding. So
Yeah, I don't think so.
is that what you recall? So I'm a little bit puzzled, and I certainly believe this board will look into that one thing in particular, and that's the one thing I definitely do remember after I visited your place. Mr.
We'll look
Detto.
at the minutes and just get call us anytime you want to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Eddie Lynch.
I don't want money.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Well,
I second his appreciation for the time and effort and thought that you all put in to this job. Good Lord, just sitting through one of these meetings is top all requests and all the needs that have to be met. It's hard. I have questions. What I want is information for me and for people that I discuss with through the week, and I'm hoping you can give me some answers. They're all about I have 3 questions, and they're related, so I'll just go through them. They're all about the courthouse and the Justice Center. The first one is whether the current courthouse is still on the list of possible sites for the new one. I understand why we need a new courthouse. I have been through the minutes for the last 9 months. That gave me a deeper appreciation for you all than anything else could have probably. And I've gone through the archives for the Great Star, and I don't see any indication that the current courthouse is still being considered. So that's my first question. The second one is who's being consulted other than architects and finance people? Who are you touching base with about where the new courthouse should be? It's great being asked, Robbinsville ripped up, Robbinsville City Councils, anybody having input into it. I know that Commissioner Orr asked for a public forum or suggested one, and I thought that was a great idea. I didn't have the minutes from last month's meeting because they hadn't been approved, so I don't know whether you discussed that last month or not, but it seems like a really good idea to me. And the third question is there a plan if the Justice Center is built outside of the heart of Robbinsville? What happens to the old courthouse? And in looking at the costs of each plan, each potential site, are you taking the cost of caring for the old building into financial consideration? because something has to happen with it unless it's going to be abandoned totally. So those are my questions. I don't want to stand here sit down.
I will send you an email. That's okay. It would be, I mean,
Well, it'd be.
I'll tell you what, I'll touch on each of them and I'll send you a detailed email.
Okay, great. The thing is, it's not out there anymore.
Right.
Nobody knows. And there's a lot of rumor and.
Well, let me see if I can dispel some of that rumor.
Okay.
So we've looked at several properties. The current site of our existing courthouse is at the bottom of the list
Why is that?
because of room and cost.
But if you take into consideration that you wouldn't have to buy land and that you wouldn't have to deal with the empty courthouse, and balance that also against the fact that it's in the heart of Robbinsville. If you take the court out of Robbinsville and off of Main Street, you've ripped the heart out.
These
And
are
a
all,
lot of people have worked on revitalizing.
these are all things that we considered throughout this whole process too. And we are considering a remodel of the existing courthouse and incorporating it into this Justice Center build. And our plan is to move Graham County's administrative offices into our existing courthouse. So we're not going to leave the courthouse empty. We want to fill it right back up.
Because to have the elementary school.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and you know, who knows? We haven't decided on a piece of property. If the elementary school campus was, you know, great, the cost benefits there. I mean, it's a years long plan to do that. But
Is there time still to consider all these other options? I know that it's gone to, is it architects who have looked at the 3 sites and estimated it?
yeah, they've looked at how many, 7 or 8 sites, I think, total.
Is it possible to have a public forum when you get down to?
We're gonna narrow, our goal is to narrow it down to 3 sites-ish, and then have a public forum with all the details, all the costs, potential costs, pros and cons, break it down for the public. Yeah, that's our aim.
If you took the tax office and the tax office and the jail out at the courthouse, would there not be room for the judges' chambers and the jury rooms and everything? And the court and the clerk of court office?
Not really, no. And it's the jail. The jail is a big issue. I mean, it's.
I know I've read about the band-aids being put on the leg,
Yeah.
but
We can't remodel it. I mean, we've got to have a bigger jail if we're gonna build a jail. We have to have a substantially bigger jail. And
but the courthouse doesn't have to be in the same facility.
it doesn't have to be.
So I mean, potentially it would free up the area in the current courthouse and get more there. Just.
Yeah, it's possible. One of the bigger issues that we were running into with remodeling our existing courthouse was the cost of our court operations somewhere else for years during construction. And then that construction in the middle of town for, again, months and months and months, if not a couple of years, would be more of a detriment than it would be to, well, if we can build a new facility and then we can fill that courthouse right back up with public service to draw up. I mean, people are in and out of this building all day, all the time, probably more so than the courthouse.
Yeah.
So it may increase traffic with these offices being in the courthouse. I don't know, but yeah, it's a complicated math problem. And we don't. Once we have some locations hammered out and agreed upon, then we'll have a public hearing. And if we have to have multiple public hearings, we will, for sure. And currently, as far as who we've been contacted, we've only been working with our architects and engineers because at the end of the day, it's, you know, how much is it gonna cost to build this building on this piece of property is what we're looking for.
Well, the historical and social aspects of it need to be in there too.
Sure, there's value there. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else for public comment? All right, discussion items. We've got $5,872.94 in releases and $3,027.25 in discoveries. Is there a motion to approve the releases and discoveries?
Some,
Is there a second?
second.
All in favor?
Gotta get myself.
Project manager's report, you want us to just read it on our own?
Yeah.
You got any highlights you want to hit?
You can highlight, the CDBG houses are moving right along. We're almost complete. We're 100% complete on the 708 Mountain Creek. I think they're submitting invoices and getting all that lined up.
They're CEOs, both of them.
Okay, great. But he's gone to Alabama for his training, for his, I guess it's naval training.
It is.
Yeah.
Mr. Moreno is an E9 CB officer, so we're very proud of him.
The roof has been replaced at the extension office, so drive by, it looks really nice. It's been completed, it was done in one day, so we were proud of that. And I don't think there was anything else. He's continuing going after money for the other two homes that you all had slated back in 2018 for the new homes. And for the help me, senior center,
CDBG, CB.
yeah, yes, correct.
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
A generator for that to get paid for in full, so no tax dollars will have to be used at all.
All right, we'll approve the following polls. Tracy Jenkins is our transit director with the pay increase. Michael Collins is the assistant transit director with the current pay increase. Ultrasound bed purchased for $7,066.87 for the urgent care. Allowed the donation of annual leave from Juanita Calder to Gavin Calvert, and the medical director changed with the pay increase of $2,500. Is there a motion to approve those polls?
Some,
Is there a second? Did you second that, Connie?
yeah.
All in favor? Approve, I'm assuming we're approving, budgetary line item for this $6,000, or are we?
Well, so my only question is on it, so we had discussed this before too. She won't need the $6,000 unless her HVAC system goes out. So do we want to wait to do a budget amendment?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was my thought process.
Let's do.
yeah.
We didn't know that yet.
No, we just wanted it brought to the board's attention
Okay.
to have it in the minutes.
Thank you.
All right. We talked about the Humane Society fencing. We need to surplus, the 2016 Ford Interceptor, VIN number 3942.
That was one of the cars back here. The sheriff's department had another one that I did not previously bring to the table, and I just need to get that one surplus as well.
Motion to surplus that vehicle.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? And this cyber assistance report, $25,000 to make their recommended hours.
I would like for y'all to review the assessment report, read through it, and then you can table that discussion if you feel like there's extra hours needed. That's where the 25,000 comes in.
So read that. We'll talk about it.
It's in the packet.
We need a Graham County advocate for REACH.
Reach is going to be putting a job notice in the paper for, and I think Michelle's here too. We met at her center over there, and it's a great thing. I didn't realize we did not have an advocate for Graham County. That's for our victim of domestic abuse. And so it's a really good thing. And they have not asked us for special appropriations and haven't for years, but they actually have a center over in Cherokee. And I did mention it's too late probably this year, but to put in for a recommendation for next year. And we do need to have an advocate for Graham County.
So do we have any volunteers?
They're gonna take applications. It's gonna be a paying job, so it's
Okay.
not a volunteer. So some volunteer may come up and want to do it
Good.
for no money, which would be great.
Well,
But,
people's times are fun.
there's not many Michelles out there, Leah.
They really need to have training,
Yes.
Yes.
the
Do we-
things, the situations they have to deal with. And it is complicated by the fact that our sheriff's department no longer has a victim's advocate either. So
Right.
we don't have anybody that can help these people. So when they knock on our door, by the time we have somebody that comes all the way from Cherokee County, the crisis is over and a lot of times things are not followed through on.
Who done that
So
victim advocate job? Did Clint do that?
Well, I think Via, we have sub-bills from Via. Lynn and I sat on that board, and we have a hotline. But that's pretty much it. So, any additional help that we could coordinate with them would be great. And, thank you, Michelle.
So was that a grant funded position?
I don't think so. I think it was county funded position, wasn't it? The
And then
victim,
you have with the
victim.
sheriff's department before.
Okay.
I can talk with the sheriff and ask him why.
We need to appoint Tracy Jenkins to the following boards: the HCCBG Committee, the Senior Center Advisory Board, and the Southwestern Aging Leadership Center.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? We need to reappoint Billy Brown, Connie Orr, and Brady Cody. Reappoint to the RDA board, right?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
She can, but
Second.
All in favor? All right, we need surplus 1999.
Appreciate the vote of confidence.
Ken
Thank you,
Works
Kevin.
and Peterbilt.
yes,
Parts.
May I add, that is not a paying job.
I can put it out as parts, or I can put it out as each individual trucks. We did have a gentleman that does some work for us that wanted to have the battery box. I would not have it. He wanted to purchase it. What he would pay for it if he got it off of Amazon. So I can't do any of that until it's surplus. And if it's okay with him taking the battery box, I will sell it to him.
Well, how are we gonna make any money?
I don't think you'll sell them as a whole in the condition they're in.
Are they not about shape?
Well, they've been stripped. They're not roadworthy, so they have to be.
Whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, destroy these for the grant.
Well, not buying parts, it's about all good.
That's how I felt.
That'll work.
Yes.
Anything else for discussion?
Did you motion to all?
Motion.
Post them for sale and see if somebody can get the whole thing and get rid of it.
Okay,
If not, then we'll just part of all.
all right.
Scrap.
Anything else for discussion
Want
items?
to make a motion to surplus?
Yes, is there a motion to surplus the 99 Kenworth and what?
2003 Peterbilt.
2003 Peterbilt. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
And I did have one more thing. I have a bill for our
Sure.
esteemed attorney, and it's over my spending account. So $13,660.
Motion to approve that. Is there a second?
Maybe we shouldn't. No. I'll second.
All in favor?
Getting tough around here.
We got that.
Thank you.
Anything else for discussion?
Thank you, Jay.
All right, I'll take a motion to go into closed session under GS 143-318.11A 1356, privilege for confidential information, attorney-client privilege, personnel contracts with Tim Ritter.
So
Is there a second? All in favor?
On favor? Is there a motion to approve Is there a motion to approve the Kenya?
Okay, leave without pay.
Has it been motioned?
He was raising his hand for the vote.
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve that leave without pay?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Is there a motion to designate the upper lot at 10J for a multi-use facility? Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Anything else?
Continue the meeting.
Motion to continue the meeting to August 27th at 5 p.m. Is there a second?
Second.